everyone. I am Lorellie Shela, and our topic for today is all about early development of writing skills, a longitudinal study with preschool writers. When did you learn to write? It's hard to remember, isn't it? It's not just because it was so long ago, but also because it didn't happen at one exact moment in time. It happened over time. Learning to write in an alphabetical system is a cognitive and cultural achievement that can only be accomplished if the child has attained certain physical skills. According to Sessiger, he described that once the child gains control over his or her head and shoulders, the arms and hand are free to carry out other kinds of motor skills like scribbling and drawing on a piece of paper. From 15 months old to 2 years old, this is the period when young children are just figuring out that their movements result in the lines and scribbles they see on the page. These scribbles are usually the result of large movements from the shoulder, with a crayon or marker held in the child's fist. There is joy in creating art at all ages, but at this stage especially, many children relish the feedback they are getting from their senses. The way the crayon feels, the smell of the paint, the squishiness of the clay. For other children, this sensory information may be too much, and they may not enjoy some art activities at this stage, like finger painting. As they grow to tolerate more sensory input, you can incrementally reintroduce art activities into their routine. Emergent writing means that children begin to understand that writing is a form of communication and their marks on paper convey a message. Emergent writing progresses along a developmental continuum. Reading and writing develop simultaneously and are interrelated. Let me give you a brief history of emergent writing. Emergent writing stages can be defined as a theory of literacy development. It refers to the dynamic and overlapping stages of early writing ability that all children pass through, leading up to conventional writing. The theory evolved from the concept of reading readiness, or the notion that before children can learn to read, they must possess a certain mental maturity. Maturationists such as G. Stanley Hall and Arnold Gesell influenced early theories of literacy development and educational practices until the mid-20th century. Attitudes toward literacy development began to shift when critics of reading readiness such as famed teacher Pukulski began to point out the theory's conceptual and functional flaws. Specifically, educators began to realize that literacy is not a static ability that develops at one distinct point in a child's education, but rather an ongoing evolution of abilities and attitudes. This conceptualization of literacy as an emergent or developing skill led parents and teachers to rethink their approach to teaching children how to read and write. So, now we can proceed to the stages of emergent writing. First, drawing. Long before children learn to write, they use writing tools like markers and crayons to draw pictures. Drawing is the earliest stage in the emergent writing process. At this point in their development, children create pictures which represent things, not words. They can use writing utensils to create shapes on the page, but in the child's mind, the shapes are representations of the world around them rather than symbols representing the names of those things. In other words, they are just pictures. Next is scribbling. As children continue to develop and become familiar with the concepts of reading and writing, their intentions and abilities when drawing will change. Drawing continues but begins to contain scribbles of Mac handwriting and can be horizontally oriented, like the words in a book. Most, most importantly, the child intends the scribble as actual words and may even assign meaning to their work. Third, mock letters. A crucial point in a child's literacy development is the realization that words are groups of individual letters. At this point, scribbles begin to take shape and letter-like patterns begin appearing in the child's drawings. Although they are still unable to write the letters of the alphabet, children's scribbles have gone from squiggles and loops to alphabetical representations that resemble real letters. The fourth stage, letters and letter strings. As the child continues to experience the printed word in their daily life, their scribbles and mock letters will morph into actual letters with which the child is familiar. Children may not even be aware that they are drawing actual letters. Often, letters appear within drawings in a row as letter strings. The first letters children write are often those in their own name of the or the other names of family members. Fifth stage, invented spelling. This is one of the most pivotal stages of emergent writing. Children at this stage use letters to create words, but know little about conventional spelling or phonetics. As a result, they invent words by clustering letters together and assigning letters together and assigning meaning to them. Children in this stage may ask, "What did I write?" signaling that while they are comfortable writing letters in groups, they still cannot write conventional words. For stage 6, which is phonetic spelling. At this stage, children have begun to form mental associations between letters and sounds and are starting to create words using that knowledge. These early phonetic words are sometimes written in all capitals or mixed case letters and often include more consonants than vowels. Also, children at this stage tend to focus on the beginning and ending sounds in words before they grasp the middle sounds. The last stage, conventional spelling. Eventually, the child's approximated spelling turns into conventionally spelled words. At this stage, children are learning and remembering new words at rapid rates. The first words to appear during this stage are often the child's name, followed by words such as ma'am, dad, cat, or dog. As the child's written vocabulary grows and they move through emergent writing stages, their knowledge and grasp of conventional spelling improves. According to Sessiger, at his age the children focus on the speed of their handwriting, and when they are 11 or 12 years old, they will start developing their own style of handwriting. What teaching strategy for preschoolers? Educators have used scaffolding techniques to support emergent writing in children. Scaffolding refers to the interactional guidance provided to a child within their zone of proximal development, which is the space between a child's level of mastery with and without assistance. Scaffolding also describes the process by which a learner moves from assisted to independent performance. Scaffolding can use visual or verbal cues to help a child develop writing skills. For example, Use visually highlighted lines as scaffolding tool to help kindergarteners represent their units of oral speech in written form. Eventually, this scaffolding tool was no longer needed when the children were able to plan and monitor their own writing process. In addition, letter formation was scaffolded by using verbal descriptions of letter shapes to help the child remember how to form it. Children who are drawing and scribbling usually do not yet understand that writing is related to speech. Similarly, when listening to a storybook being read aloud, children at this level may not understand that the text carries its own meaning, and that the words the children is saying to tell the story come from the text. Their alphabet knowledge and phonological awareness skills are at the beginning points in development. They may know a few letter names such as the first letter in their name. They may also be working on phonological awareness skills that attend to larger units of spoken language, such as rhyme. When children are consistently writing with seemingly random letters and letter-like forms, they understand that print carries meaning, but they still do not generally understand that letters represent the sounds in spoken words in a systematic way. Although they may be growing in phonological awareness and developing knowledge of the alphabet, including the names of letters, they have not yet made the speech-to-print connection, because they represent their knowledge of print in the writings without representing sounds. Their messages cannot be understood by adults without children's interpretations.
For the continuation of developing composing skills, here are some of the results that have gained from the research. There are 4 measures given in order to ascertain the children's progress with respect to writing skills that measures for each participant. First is the temporal measures. In this measure, it measures the different kinds of time in different aspects based on the process when the pen is or not in contact with the digitizer whenever a child is practicing writing. First on temporal measures is the word time. This measure refers to the average time taken to write one word. It means that it measures every second or minute in writing a single word, wherein it will determine the child's skills, if he or she have a skill on writing with each stroke of every letter. For example, the word beautiful. How many seconds or minutes will it take for a child to write it? Or either the word high. Second in temporal measures is the writing time. Writing time is the average of the actual time spent on writing the strokes of every letter, not including the time when the pen is not in contact with the digitizer. It means that it measures the time whenever a child started to write and stroke each letter on the paper, not including the time when the pen is not in contact with the paper. For example, letter F. How many seconds will it take for a child to write letter F with a 3-stroke of pen in contact in the paper? Next is the in-air time. In-air refers to the moment when the pen is not in contact with the digitizer. This can happen between the writing of different segments in a letter or between letters. This means that how long does it take a child to stop mid-air whenever they are writing between transition of every letters in a word. It measures the time when the pen is not in contact with the paper or when the child is lifting up the pen for writing each letter. Second from the measures is the trajectory measure. First in trajectory measure is the writing length. In writing length refers to the average size in centimeter of the whole word written by the child. It does not include the segment in air when the pen is not in contact with the surface of the tablet. This measure provides only the information about the size of the letters written by the child for each word. So as time goes by, when a child develops their skills in writing each letter, every letter will have the same measure or lesser gap of the size of every stroke of the pen. Next is the number of segments. Number of segments refers to the average number of segments that the child drew in order to write the whole word. This means that it was the total average segment after totaling and dividing each segment as how the children learn to compose the letters to finish a word. Next in measure is the motor measure. First in motor measure is the disfluency. This measure refers to the lack of smoothness in writing. It is measured by the mean number of speed maxima during the writing of the word. There is always a long pause whenever they are writing. Every stroke of each letter are not perfect. Next is pressure. It refers to the amount of power exerted from the hand of a person on how heavy it is as it in contact on the paper. Last from measure is the perceptual measure. In perceptual measure, there is the gaze slip number defined that when, after the initial glance, the children look at the screen to collect more information to write the word. It means that how does the brain of the child memorize the word with only one glance in order for them to write it down on the paper. So it measures how many times a child glances from the word they are copying in order for them to write it on their own. Move forward in the discussion, it stated that the researchers found out that the speed of handwriting did not increase during this short period of time. The children learned to write letters using fewer segments, as indicated by the decrease in the average number of segments per word. Next, the number of gaze leaps that children direct as stimuli was found to diminish significantly at the 3 points evaluated. After practicing writing over and over, they tend to memorize each letter from each word to write faster. Next, the children learn to collect chunks of information by gathering more than one letter at each glance. As time goes by, a child who is always practicing writing learns to chunk information that will lessen the time for in-ear time whose causes from lifting their gaze to look what next letter they will write. A child can write each word with only one glance. Next, during the first stages of handwriting acquisition, the children use a more retroactive control of their writing gesture, and hence need to follow their movements on the paper closely and cannot look at the stimulus at the same time. The child will thus write one letter, lift the pen, and look at the stimulus to check on the next letter, but later on, through practicing, they can now write the whole word with only one glance. Now, there are 14 activities to improve kids' writing skills. First is the Read app. Regular reading is a stepping stone to better writing and help kids strengthen their writing skills. In that way, it will help to expand the children's vocabulary and shows them the different ways on how to use the words. With young children, there should be a guardian who will guide the child and encourage them to read as they grow old. Next, make it fun. Play games and activities that encourage writing. The attention span of young children are very short, that is why they get bored easily. To make it fun and easier for them to learn, crossword and puzzle games are examples to catch their attention. Next is create writing worksheets. For young children just learning to write, try creating a worksheet where they can trace letters and words. This is one of the teaching strategies that used in kindergarten. For the starters, they will provide a workbook that has a tracing letters for about 10 to 20 times with the same letters in order for them to get used to it and have their hands develop a familiarity with the stroke of each letter. Next, try different materials. Switch it up by writing with something other than a pen or pencil. Let them explore other types of pen whenever they are practicing writing. A child gets easily excited when they use different kinds of colors in writing. It catches their attention that urges them to use it. Next is write letter. Encourage your child to write letters to friends or family members. This strategy is sometimes used especially on special occasion. In school, whenever there is an occasion like Valentine's, Teacher's Day, Mother's Day, or Father's Day, teachers encourage their learner to write a letter to their loved one and special someone. In that way, it helps them to develop their skills in composing words. Next is encouraging journaling. Keeping a journal is a great way to express thoughts and ideas while also working on improving children's writing skills, encouraging them to write their everyday life or their concerns, problems, accomplishments, and seek lesson journal as one of the ways to enhance the child's talents of composing a word. Next is create a writing space. Set aside a little corner in your house that is completely devoted to writing. Get a space for every child that is quiet, yet appealing and conducive for a child to use as they are practicing writing a letter. Do not let them be distracted while they are practicing, as their attention will not be focusing on learning. Next, invest time. Make sure your child knows you're available to help with spelling or proofreading whenever he or she needs it. Make them feel that they are being encouraged. Motivate and give them recognition as they are easily encouraged upon receiving praises. Next, connect their interests. Whatever his or her interests, connect them to writing. Asking them to write what they like, what they want to be, their family or friends, and dreams will also help them enhance their writing skills. Next is create story prompts. A fun way to improve kids' creative writing skills is to have them write short stories. Every child has a wide and broad imaginations. Take advantage to it by using it to improve their writing as they develop composing each letter to form a word. Next is model it. There is no better way to learn something than to see someone else doing it. As a teacher or instructor, there should always a demonstration first so the child will eventually follow. In that way, they will get an idea on how to stroke each letter. Next, use technology to your advantage. There is no getting around the fact that technology plays a huge part in our lives. Let them watch some videos that will help them develop their composing skills. It is much more interactive and creative way to catch the attention of a child while learning. Next is make it part of your daily routine. Make sure that there's time each day to do some writing in one way or another. Have time to teach a child every day so their memory will not be fade away. The retrieval of information will not be hard to remember. Last is praise their work. Show lots of interest in your child's writing and stories. Give them praises and sweet words as they gain more motivation whenever they receive praises from the people who appreciate their work. It motivates them to do more and better next time. I hope you learned something from here, everyone. Have a nice day. Thank you.